Right.
It is what it is. Well, 41 years, Jason. 41 years of well, let's just be honest, a lot of downs, but a lot of ups too.
Yeah.
Here, there, everywhere, up, down, and around. The one thing we can be sure of is Sactown Sports will have your coverage. Sactown Sports will play the games.
Yep.
And
all of them.
The sweet, silky, comforting, caring, sometimes scolding.
Yeah.
Sometimes
when needed.
Sometimes a little frustrated. But no matter what, the soundtrack in your ears, the Bob Ross, if you will, that paints the pictures. Or, by the way, was Bob Ross the Gary Gerould of paintings?
Oh, good point.
You make the call on that. The legend, the voice of the Sacramento Kings, Gary Gerould. Good morning, sir.
You guys are carried away. There's no doubt about it.
How are you?
I'm pretty tolerable, thank you.
Before we get to what we're going to get to, I have to ask you, because we were doing a reminiscing segment earlier, G-Man, and I was Jason was asking me about stuff on my wall growing up as a kid that was Kings related, and one of the things I had mentioned amongst the Danny Ainge growth charts and the Terry Tyler posters or whatever was there was something I think the Kings and a guy named Captain Carrot did for kids when it came to nutrition and stuff. Jason had not heard of Captain Carrot. This was before Jason's time. You have to go way back for Jason's time in SAP, but this is just before that. But then when I showed him the picture of Captain Carrot, who left us about a year ago, unfortunately, he said he looks terribly familiar. G-Man, I would be shocked if you didn't cross paths with Captain Carrot at some point.
Oh, everybody knew Captain Garrett.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You knew it.
Well, and if I remember correctly now, didn't you both do things with Rayleigh's? Or am I off?
Did.
Yeah, I know G-Man did. I think Captain Carrot did too.
Yeah, Kerry Nosler. He did all kinds of nutrition things. I'm not 100% sure about the Rayleigh, but I believe so. But I know he did a lot of things at Channel 3, KCRA TV.
That's right.
At a time that I was working there. He did a lot of studio things and one thing or another. But Captain Carrot was well known. And as you mentioned, he had all the schools and nutrition and strength and energy and all of those good things, all the healthy things in life that I know so little about. Terry Nosler knew everything about.
Jason, one of my great memories growing up, and G-Man just reminded me of this. Yeah, he spoke at my school. We would do the chants. He made it so fun. And he wasn't in a costume. He wasn't. It was just him. But man, he spoke at my dad's Rotary Club on Jose's on Fair Oaks and Garfield on a Tuesday night. And all the kids of Rotarians were invited to go. And let me tell you, I got to stay up past my bedtime. And this guy, how boring is nutrition to a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old? But he had a way of, G-Man, I'm right. He had a way of making it fun for us.
He did. That was the magic of the captain. He was terrific.
G-Man, we were also reminiscing about, this is the 41st season. You've called all of them. Do you have a specific, I think, when the memories you go back, a lot of them tend to blend together. But do you remember opening night, besides the tuxedos and some of those things? Do you have any other vivid memories of the very first Kings game?
I think the overriding impression, Jason, was probably just the amazing excitement and the reality of the fact that big-time sports were now a part of the landscape in Sacramento. And in a community where think small seemed to be the mentality, for once they were thinking big. And I loved the fact that, I could now go get my basketball entertainment on a professional level, as opposed to going to, and nothing against Spider Thomas and the Kennedy Cougars, but going to Kennedy High School to watch basketball, or going out to the Cordova basketball tournament during the holiday season and things like that. So it was just the atmosphere, the sense of anticipation was just overwhelming. And I remember distinctly pulling into the parking lot and opening my car door and hearing this regal music being piped throughout the parking areas on the speaker system, the fanfares and stuff like that. And I just thought, wow, this is really kind of cool. And you mentioned the tuxedos. Yeah, many of us were. I mean, and people say tuxedos. Are you kidding? I mean, you talk about small town mentality stepping up, but that was Sacramento at that time, and the fact that it led to 497, I think, is the number, consecutive sellouts that spanned 11 years or something like that, and that to this day, that's still in the top 10 of all-time sellout streaks in NBA history. So it was an extraordinarily special time, no question.
G-Man, I was little back then, but I still have memories. You mentioning the tuxedos just reminded me, and I don't know if you remember this or not either. Was it a mustachioed David Stern, Greg Lukenbill, and I want to say the late Joe Benvenuti that were all in tuxes courtside, and didn't they like bang a drum or something? Or no, it was a gavel that said Kings Court now in session, right?
Right, absolutely,
My goodness. Now, I think we might have asked you this once in years past, but just for those listening. So, because I live for this. I live for this reminiscing. The Kings are coming to town. You'll remember the practice, of course, at American River College where people were bringing cakes and pies and stuff. How did it come about? You know, nobody can imagine this team being voiced by anybody other than you. You're doing TV at Channel 3. You're doing the auto racing. You got your own thing going. How did Gary Gerould become the voice of the Sacramento Kings?
Well, I've told the story many times, and I'll try to be brief again, but I think it was January of 1985, I got a phone call out of the blue. It was the late Gregory Dutch Van Duzen. He was working with the Kings in Kansas City for the couple of years that Sacramento had ownership of that group. And he said, G-Man, I want to play What If with you. And I'm thinking, what if what? And he said, what if the Kansas City Kings were to move to Sacramento? Would you be interested in being the radio voice? And I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I said, well, yes, of course. I'd have to have some, not compensation, but I'd have to make way for some of the network responsibilities I had working as an independent contractor at that time with NBC. He said that wouldn't be a problem. Well, then a couple more weeks go by, and I don't hear anything. I get a call then from Paul Aaron, who was the general manager, I believe, of KFBK Radio at that time. And he said, Gary, in 2 days or whatever, I'm going to Kansas City. I'm going to see the Kings. I'm going to meet people in the organization. Would you like to go? Of course. So we go to Kansas City. We meet Bob Whitsitt, who is the assistant general manager, Joe Axelson, who's the general manager, Julie Fye, who is director of media relations. Kevin Harlan was doing Kings on the radio at that time. And so that was the next step in telling me that this is going to happen. And later on, when it became official, the Kings, of course, had to go through the legalities of offering the job. And as I'm told, there were 100 or more applicants, many of them announcers that were currently working with other clubs in the NBA who would love the idea of relocating to California. And Gregory Dutch Van Duzen had said consistently, he said, we want local identity, and that's why we want to turn in your direction. And so a few weeks later, late in the season, the Kings were coming out west to play the Golden State Warriors and the LA Lakers, and I was asked to record those games. And I said, okay. I didn't tell them that I hadn't done basketball in 15 years at that point. And so I took my son, Bob, out of school. He was at Kennedy High School at that time. We went to L.A., athletic trainer and just gentleman extraordinaire Bill Jones was our liaison. We stayed at the Airport Marriott in L.A., and he said, okay, such and such a time, come out, we'll take a shuttle bus to the arena, the Great Western Forum. And we get on the shuttle bus, and, you know, there's Reggie Theus and Eddie Johnson and Larry Drew and LaSalle Thompson, et cetera, et cetera. And they're all looking at Bobby and me like, who the hell are these guys, and what are they doing on our bus? And Jonesy simply said, this is Gary, this is his son Bob. They're with us for the weekend. treat them with respect, and we were accepted. And so I remember sitting a couple of rows behind the legendary Chick Hearn up in the nosebleeds at the Great Western Forum, trying to call a game that was 100 miles away from me, and no great preparation. Did the same thing a couple of days later in Oakland against the Warriors, and then those tapes later became the listening fodder for Joe Axelson as he drove cross-country for the actual relocation in the summer of 1985. And I remember him at some point after the Kings were formally in Sacramento, one day he put his arm around my shoulders. He said, "Kid, I listened to those tapes. You were a hell of a lot better than you had any right to be." I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? But I had the job.
Wow. Somebody called G-Man Kid. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
thinking
great.
about that. And G-Man, you find tonight in the opener, and we're short on time here, but just that you're as excited tonight for season 41 for you as I don't know if it can match quite year one of what might be, but just kind of where you are on this season opening night as far as exciting meter, I would say.
Well, it's always a time of optimism and renewed hope, and you hope that it lasts for more than 24 hours. I mean, the Kings are shorthanded. You mentioned they're 40% of the starting lineup is out for tonight's game in Phoenix. You've got so many questions to be answered, but we start the process tonight, and we'll see what happens. And you talked about how difficult these next 18 games are in terms of the scheduling, and the fact that you get OKC and Minnesota and Denver 3 times each in the first 18. Man, that's really, really tough stuff. But you got to find out where you stand, how you measure up, how you can get better. And I know that Doug Christie and his staff are anxious to get the ball rolling, and we're looking forward to it, obviously.
Best there ever was, the voice of your Sacramento Kings, the only voice they've ever had. The very first decision you could make, arguably, the Sacramento Kings franchise made, might have been their best decision ever, to hire that young kid with the great hair to be the voice of this team. G-Man, you're the absolute best. This city and these Kings fans love you more than life itself. That includes the 2 guys in this room. And have a wonderful, wonderful season number 41, sir.
Appreciate you guys. Love you. Thanks so much for the opportunity. And let's go Kings.
Let's go Kings.
It's the voice. And you knew Captain Carrot.
We got a break.
Yeah.
I would like to get Gary Gerould in pill form. That's the meds I need.
Yeah.
Just, you know what? Feeling bad about the team? Let me swallow a lozenge of pill form G-Man.
Yeah. It'll make you better.
Take a couple of G-Men with some a glass of water, and I feel great. Yep. You know what? Honestly, playoffs, not out of the question.
There you go.
Don't even care. Yep. Makes me smile. We'll take a break. Love the G-Man. When we come back, what's hot, what's not, and the debut of 3 in the Key. We get to it next.
The only place you'll find Keegan Murray is Sactown Sports.
Out to Keegan Murray, straight away for 3, and Keegan knocks down the triple.
Hey Sacramento, it's Keegan Murray, and you're listening to the home of Sacramento Kings, Sactown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle